Hey, I'm going to show you how to create a thumb hole while still working in the round so that you don't have to work your thumb section as a flat panel while you loom knit. I use this on these cable fingerless gloves that I have on here, and you can see the thumb hole is a nice size and fits really great. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you how that's done. Okay, so the first step is to create the bottom of the thumb hole, which you see here. And to do that, we're going to bind off 4 pegs. I have completed the row prior. I'm going to knit peg 1, move peg 1 over to peg 20, or the last peg in the row. You can use either knit or E-wrap knit for this. If you're going to use the knit stitch, just make sure to keep the stitches kind of loose. Once you move it onto peg 20, you knit over, and then you move it onto peg 1. Then you knit peg 2, move peg 2 over to peg 1, knit over, move the stitch now created on peg 1 over to empty peg 2, knit peg 3, move the stitch that was on peg 3 over to peg 2, knit over, peg 2 goes onto 3. We want to have 4 empty pegs like I mentioned, and right now we have 3. So we're going to knit peg 4, move that over, knit over, place the stitch that we just created onto peg 4. So now we have empty peg 20 in this case, or the last peg in the previous row, and 1, 2, and 3 for a total of 4 stitches combined. And I am ready now to continue on, and I'm going to start my pattern now with peg 5, and I had previously done a purl. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to follow my pattern instructions for how to finish off this row. If you're just doing it for an E-wrap, you would be doing an E-wrap. In my case, I'm doing some chains and purls for these gloves. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that off. But otherwise, you would just keep E-wrapping around, and when you get to this peg here, whatever the last stitch in the row is that you're going to do on 19, do that and then stop, and I will show you how to cast on and complete your thumb hole. Okay, so I've just done my last stitch for the row, and this is the second last peg, and I want to cast back on to the 4 pegs that I had emptied before, and I'm going to use a chain cast on. Now if you'd prefer, you could also use an E-wrap cast on, although it's going to give you a little bit of a looser, not as finished look, or a crochet cast on. I like to use the chain cast on. I find it easy to do, and so I'm going to bring my yarn to the front of peg 20, or actually not to the front of peg 20, in between 19 and peg 20, or the second and the second to last and the last peg. And I'm going to make a little bit of a loop, and then I'm going to bring my working yarn across, and you can use your crochet hook then, or you can use your fingers, which if I'm going this way I find a little bit easier. Pull your working yarn through the loop that you just created, place that towards the back, bring the working yarn across peg 1, pull it through the loop in the back. And then I just sort of tighten it. Bring it across peg 2, back through your loop, and tighten. And now you're going to place your last stitch. Now what's important here is you want to have your yarn ready to start working the next row on peg 4. So I'm going to place the loop with my working yarn on the bottom of the peg, as you can see there, so that when I place that back on, now it's set up that I can start working in the round on peg 4. And for this pattern, I'm going to do a purl stitch and keep continuing on with my pattern. And you can see that that has created your thumb opening. In the back, you have your chain cast-ons. In the front, there is a stitch on each peg that was before empty. And there it's 20, peg 1, 2, 3, and now you're ready to go and continue on. And that gives you the top portion of your thumb hole, which for these gloves looks like that from the outside, from the right side where you're going to be placing it on. From the inside, and it'll look kind of like that. So that is how you create a thumb hole, by binding off 4 pegs, and this is a perfect way to be able to continue working in the round when you're making your fingerless gloves and not having to go back and forth to make the slit. And the slit is more of a horizontal than a vertical one. Hope that helps. Thanks for joining me.